Action 2 News starts now with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Sarah is off today. The summer of smoke continues.
Raging wildfires in Canada scorching the earth and enveloping our air with unhealthy levels of particulates again today. It's impacting outdoor activities of all kinds.
We have team coverage of this ongoing air quality advisory and the First Alert Weather Day it's prompted. So let's begin with the latest from meteorologist Keith Gibson. Keith.
Right now, air quality very unhealthy in the Fox Valley, including Appleton. If it's not that bad, it's just plain unhealthy across the rest of northeastern Wisconsin. And we have actually crept back into this very unhealthy zone in the Fox Valley down to the southwest. And some of that low-level smoke has come back to the North Woods and to parts of Door County relative to that little bit of clearing or better air we had late yesterday. And our visibility's reduced across most of northeastern Wisconsin. 5 miles, 2 miles, you name it. It is very smoky, hazy across our region. Now, the smoke is with us now. It's going to linger tonight and also into tomorrow morning. We have a cold front coming in tomorrow, and that will help to scour out some of this low-level smoke. That's certainly a good thing to talk about. So I don't think the air quality is going to be as bad of a problem tomorrow, assuming the front comes in as expected. So the current forecast for the air quality tomorrow is just moderate. Time will tell, though. Now, with the front later tonight, storms are blossoming toward west in northwestern Wisconsin and Minnesota. That front is going to swing out through here during the overnight hours. And we do have a risk for some strong to possibly severe storms late this evening and during the overnight with some gusty wind and some hail. More on that threat in your full forecast in just a few minutes.
Keith, thanks. Well, some events canceling this week due to the air quality, such as summer sports leagues, but some other popular outdoor events are still happening today with caution.
Emily Byer joins us live in downtown Green Bay from the Farmers Market. Emily.
Yeah, Brittany, Jeff and Brittany, the Wisconsin DNR put out that multi-day air quality advisory with nearly 500 wildfires, 260 of those currently active in Canada. The conditions can quickly change hour to hour. Seeing these hazy, smoky skies that we're seeing here, we're out at the Farmers Market on Broadway talking with organizers. They told me they're encouraging folks to just listen to their body, make sure that you take breaks. There are plenty of places to sit, but also plenty of shops to get a break from the hazy skies. And taking a bird's eye view now with our First Alert drone. This was shot earlier today looking towards Green Bay. Due to these wildfires in Canada, people with heart or lung diseases, sensitivities to pollutants should take extra precautions by reducing your time outdoors, avoid strenuous outdoor activities, consider moving physical activities indoors, and for others, experts advise you to try to shorten the amount of time you're active outdoors. Really listen to your body and be sure to take breaks. The DNR says Wisconsin is seeing some of the worst air quality conditions right now.
The most unhealthy smoke impacts are expected across the eastern half of the state, especially along the Lake Michigan shoreline there. In the Milwaukee area, we are seeing some very unhealthy AQI levels there. In fact, Milwaukee is currently experiencing some of the highest levels of air pollution, not just in the U.S., but across the globe.
Now, these wildfires in Canada continuing to spread. According to NPR, parts of Europe now starting to see these hazy skies as well. Brittany.
So this is a rapidly and dynamic changing situation. So we just want folks to be aware of how it might affect them individually, either on a personal level with family members or loved ones, or if you're in a community organization or
From WBAY TV, your First Alert station. Action 2 News at 4:30 starts now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at 4:30. Now, there is a new MU Law School poll out today. It gives us an early glimpse into 2024 and some interesting numbers on the GOP side. We're going to visit with the poll's director today, but we're going to start, as you just heard, with our First Alert Weather Day as the bad air continues here in northeast Wisconsin. And it is all because of this. Currently, right now, 474 wildfires burning up in Canada, and the smoke making its way south across the U.S., causing our skies right now to look like this. And believe it or not, that's a little bit better than what we've been seeing earlier today. Canadian officials saying this is the nation's worst wildfire season ever. They do expect air quality to remain a concern throughout the summer as long as those fires continue. And keep in mind, some of these fires are so remote that they do not actively fight them, so they're just burning on their own. And this is not just being seen here in northeast Wisconsin. Everyone else is seeing and feeling the effects today. The smoke covering most of the state looked like marine fog right there over Lake Monona in Madison. That image is from Blue Mountain State Park in Dane County. These images coming to us from the Wisconsin DNR. But what does this all mean for your health? We can see it, but how do we feel it? The Environmental Protection Agency's airnow.gov site showing Green Bay currently, right now, has a air quality index of 198. That is in the unhealthy range. Now, earlier today, it was above 210. What this means is that people in sensitive categories, such as those with heart, lung disease, as well as older adults and children, should really avoid strenuous outdoor activities and keep any outdoor activities brief. Our Brittany Schmidt spoke to a UW Health allergist who says, to kind of put this into context, right? Smoke from a cigarette, not quite the same as smoke from a wildfire, obviously, but comparing the two can give us a sense of the health effects caused by this wildfire smoke.
And so if you were outside the entire day, I read an AQI of 150 is about 7 cigarettes a day if you were outside for the entire 24 hours. So being outside for a few hours probably is an equivalent right now of possibly a couple cigarettes. Okay, so not great, so best to avoid as much as possible, I would say, even if you're not at risk.
All right, remember he said AQI of 150, and we right now are at 198. And also NASA Worldview is showing us that the smoke from those wildfires has now reached Europe. You can see it drifting over parts of Spain, France, and even Italy, along with others. So seeing those smoky skies, stay tuned to Action 2 News at 5. We'll have more on the fires and the impact on our air here in northeast Wisconsin coming up.
The summer of smoke continues.
Currently experiencing some of the highest levels of air pollution, not just in the U.S., but across the globe.
As Canadian wildfires scorch earth to our north, compromised air envelops northeast Wisconsin. What we can do to protect our loved ones.
Children are vulnerable because their airways are smaller, but they also, I will tell you, do not do a very good job of verbalizing their symptoms.
And how long might it linger? All top Action 2 News at 5.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Looking outside our Green Bay Skycam, you can see that the smoke covering our skies this week, not letting up yet.
As we're talking about the smoke coming from the continuing wildfires in Canada, people throughout the state of Wisconsin feeling the effects. Here's a map from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center's website. It details the conditions north of the U.S. 230 forest fires still burn out of control across Canada. Only 150 are marked under control. We have live team coverage tonight going over everything that you need to know regarding the ongoing air quality alert. We begin with meteorologist David Ernst in our First Alert Weather Center with the forecast. David.
Cami, looking behind me, you can tell where the worst air is in the country. You see a lot of greens out west, but even down to the Gulf Coast, we're seeing air quality issues because of that smoke. And then obviously right here, upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, that is where it is the worst. Right around the Cleveland area, that is where we've had air quality spilling into that very unhealthy range and even into the hazardous category there, 316. And you can see those 200s, which puts you in that very unhealthy range throughout much of Indiana, Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Locally, we're right in that ballpark. We have our air quality hovering in that 190 to 200 range. So again, just bordering on that very unhealthy territory, which is why our First Alert Weather Day for this unhealthy air does continue. Now, we'll keep this in effect through at least noon on Thursday. There are signs that that smoke will begin to abate towards the end of the day. Now, it's worth noting that even the other thing that we monitor for air quality, ozone, is also in an unhealthy for sensitive groups category. So the bottom line here is the air quality is just bad across northeastern Wisconsin. Now, that ground level smoke thickest remains off to our south and west, but we likely still deal with some of that thicker smoke through tomorrow morning. But you'll notice that guidance has it thinning and pushing away from the area as we go into the day on Thursday. There could be some thunderstorms coming in tonight that will help scour that smoke on out. You can see those storms right now in northwestern parts of Wisconsin. We'll detail what those are expected to do later on tonight with First Alert Pinpoint Predictor coming up.
David, thank you. Some summer sports leagues and other events canceled this week due to those quality concerns, but other popular outdoor activities still going on today with caution. Emily Byard joins us now live from the Farmers Market in downtown Green Bay with more on that. Emily.
Yeah, Bill, organizers with the farmers market on Broadway tell me this is something they haven't had to navigate before. Of course, they've seen extreme heat and rain, but they haven't had to deal with these air quality issues like this. They're encouraging those attending the market to be sure to listen to your body, take breaks if you need it. According to the Wisconsin DNR, during a fluid situation like this, that's what you need to do because it could change from hour to hour. The Wisconsin DNR issuing a multi-day advisory due to wildfires continuing to burn in Canada, breaking a record for annual wildfire smoke emissions, creating poor and unhealthy air quality in our area.
Ranging from the unhealthy for sensitive groups level all the way up to the very unhealthy level.
Currently, the DNR says the most unhealthy areas are along the Lake Michigan shoreline down to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee is currently experiencing some of the highest levels of air pollution, not just in the U.S., but across the globe.
With the majority of our state experiencing unhealthy air quality, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services encourages you to keep outdoor activity light and short.
If you do have a respiratory or cardiovascular health condition that puts you at greater risk and need to spend time outside, a well-fitting N95 mask may be helpful, but generally we recommend that for the duration of this air quality event, staying indoors is probably the best thing to do.
The advisory currently goes until noon on Thursday, but that could change based on weather patterns. And now, of course, we're going to continue to monitor these conditions, but just to show the impact, NPR now reporting that these hazy skies can be seen across the pond, now seeing them in Portugal. Cammie.
Thanks, Emily. Even with this prolonged event, many of us wondering how much exposure is too much when the air quality is this unhealthy. Our Brittany Schmidt tried to answer that question for us today. She's joining us now live in the studio. Brittany.
Cammie, after talking with 3 experts today throughout the state, the simple answer is it's hard to know. It's extremely dependent on the person, their health vulnerabilities, and the length of time exposed. We received multiple emails from Action 2 News viewers asking us to help put the unhealthy air exposure into context. One man says he's worried about his employees working outside all day. A UW Health allergist, Dr. Eric Schauberger, says smoke from a cigarette is not the same as the smoke from a wildfire, but he says the health effects on the lungs are somewhat equivalent. Here's an example. If we look at the exposure level right now in Green Bay from the airnow.gov website, it is sitting at 198, that air quality index. Schauberger says if you spent 24 hours outside today, it's likely equivalent to smoking about 7 cigarettes. So the health impact is really dependent on exposure. We also received an email from a woman concerned about a relative's outdoor activity when they also deal with allergies. Right now is peak time for grass and weed allergies. Here is the doctor's response.
That's probably not sufficient that they just take their daily allergy medication. I would even say not sufficient if they took their daily allergy medication and then wore a mask. I would still say they should probably limit their time outside, skip a day of biking. The health effects of the biking are probably not worth the unhealthy effects of the exposure to the poor air quality.
All the 3 health experts I spoke with today say it's best to limit outdoor activities right now, especially for kids. They are vulnerable because their airways are smaller and they don't often know how to tell someone they are experiencing symptoms. If you have any questions, contact your healthcare professional.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Take a look at this drone footage that we shot earlier today around 11:30 this morning. It shows smoky conditions once again across Green Bay and the surrounding area. The gray skies really blanketing all of northeast Wisconsin at this point. We've been tracking those numbers too, which now show the De Pere area under unhealthy conditions.
Throughout the day, northeast Wisconsin has been on the cusp of unhealthy to very unhealthy air. Those statistics prompting us to continue our First Alert Weather Day. In team coverage tonight, our reporters are standing by with how officials are monitoring the conditions and how time spent outside can impact your health. But first, meteorologist David Ernst breaks down the numbers affecting the area right now. David.
Bill, Cammie, really, the graphic behind me, just the colors tell it all. I'm sure your eyes are drawn right here to Wisconsin, and the worst of the air quality down towards Kentucky, Tennessee, and then back up into the eastern Great Lakes. Now, the absolute worst that we're seeing is there in northeastern parts of Ohio, where the air quality has at times today been stuck in that hazardous range, but we still have some of the worst air quality right in the country in northeastern Wisconsin. There has been some slight improvement here over the last couple of hours. Earlier today, we had a lot of the area in that very unhealthy category, above 200 with that air quality index, and now we're at least slipping back down into the 100s. But make no mistake about it, that air is still unhealthy, and our air quality advisory will remain in effect until at least the lunch hour tomorrow. So anybody, regardless of whether you have some sort of health ailment or you're perfectly healthy, should be limiting your time outside. The poorest of the air, as we're seeing, will stay in southwestern Wisconsin, but likely starts to build back into the area overnight into tomorrow morning as westerly winds take over. But through the day tomorrow, we should see that air begin to clean up. Now, there will be the potential for some storms as that's happening. Right now, just a few spotty showers in northern Wisconsin. What we're watching for will be that activity you see popping up just east of the Twin Cities. That is likely to intensify over the next few hours, and we could have some storms coming in overnight. But again, even though some of those might be strong, it will help to clean the air out over the course of tomorrow. So we'll be talking more about those storms and our air quality concerns coming up.
David, thank you. Taking another look today at those fires currently burning in Canada. The red markers here show that more than 480 active fires are going on right now. 11 of them started just today.
The conditions caused by those fires now impacting popular outdoor events and activities. Our crews have briefly stepped outside for these reports tonight. Emily Byer joining us live in downtown Green Bay from the Farmers Market. Emily.
Yeah, Cami and Bill here at the Farmers Market on Broadway. Organizers telling us that this is something they haven't had to navigate before. Of course, they've seen heat, they've seen rain, and now with these lingering air quality issues, organizers telling us to really encourage your best judgment here tonight because it can impact everyone so differently. More than 17.7 million acres have already burned this year in Canada compared to last year, which saw about 3.5 to 4 million acres burn. Canada now breaking an annual record for wildfire smoke emissions. These conditions can quickly change hour to hour with these hazy, smoky skies. Local DNR workers telling us they're continuing to monitor conditions with their partners in Ontario and Manitoba.
And a lot of these fires that are burning are in areas where they can't extinguish the fires, or they're because they're in such remote areas, or they just don't have the staff. They've brought in firefighters from France, from Italy, Australia, Mexico. And so they have a lot of partners helping them to extinguish these fires.
These wildfires continuing to spread. According to NPR, parts of Europe now seeing these smoky, hazy skies. Bill and Cami.
Emily, thank you. With this prolonged event, many of us wondering how much exposure is too much when the air quality is this unhealthy.
And Brittany Smith tried to answer that question for us today. She joins us now live in Green Bay. Brittany.
Cami and Bill, I talked to 3 experts throughout the state today, and the simple answer is they just don't know. As the Canadian wildfire smoke continues to blanket Wisconsin, experts say it's difficult to pinpoint the toxins in the air right now.
I know there are some concerns. I think I saw an email about formaldehyde and other chemicals. Yeah, so burning the fires creates that. How much of that right now is in our air is not something I've been able to find.
UW Health allergist Dr. Eric Schauberger says the smoke from Canada is also difficult to put into context because it's not the same thing as smoke from a cigarette. But he says the health effects on lungs are somewhat equivalent. If we look at the exposure level right now in Green Bay, from the airnow.gov website, we are sitting at an air quality index around 200.
So if you were outside the entire day, I read an AQI of 150 is about 7 cigarettes a day if you were outside for the entire 24 hours. So being outside for a few hours probably is an equivalent right now of possibly a couple cigarettes.
Exposure also depends on the size of the particle. Current pollutant particles in the air are around 2.5 microns,
which can penetrate the body's natural defense systems, get into the bloodstream, get into the lining of the lungs, and cause inflammation and aggravation of either underlying conditions or create symptoms that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Experts say everyone should limit their time outdoors, especially children.
Because their airways are smaller, but they also, I will tell you, do not do a very good job of verbalizing their symptoms.
Plus, it's a good idea to keep an eye on the airnow.gov website to monitor the rapidly changing situation, especially as we head into a holiday.
It doesn't mean that you have to cancel plans or you have to change anything about your day-to-day routine. But if you're planning, if you see that it's going to be at an unhealthy level on a certain day, The recommendation would be instead of spending 2 hours out on the pontoon, maybe you spend 1 hour.
When limiting your time outdoors, masks certainly help, but they are not 100%. Keep in mind, these particles are tiny. According to the EPA, a single strand of hair is 30 times bigger than one of these particles circulating in the air right now. Bill?
Well, Brittany, thank you. Another family member to look out for, of course, when the air is bad, your pets. At the Wisconsin Humane Society in Green Bay, the poor air quality means significantly less time outdoors for the dogs. While they regularly get to spend time together in outdoor pens, now the dogs only get short walks and no playtime. Dogs with respiratory problems can only get quick bathroom breaks.
You want to decrease the amount of outdoor strenuous activities. So the play yards, this is where the dogs like run after balls, anything that gets you like heavy breathing. So instead of taking runs with your pets, you want to definitely tone that down to shorter walks.
Experts also advise keeping windows closed and monitor your pets for any signs of respiratory distress or discomfort such as coughing, sneezing, wheezing, or trouble breathing. If you notice any concerning symptoms, reach out to your vet right away for their care.
As that smoke begins to seep farther south and into the Northeast as well, the Midwest continues to see the worst air quality impact right now. Video out of Chicago, Minneapolis, and Milwaukee showing familiar gray skies and hazy conditions. ABC is now reporting that Chicago has the worst air quality in the entire world. In some areas, skylines have become barely visible as smoke settles across our region of the country.
This is probably, if not the worst, one of the worst air quality at times that we've ever been in right now.
Tonight, a smoky haze once again settling over northeast Wisconsin, bringing with it unhealthy air.
This is a rapidly and dynamic changing situation, so we just want folks to be aware.
Health officials warn of spending too much time out in the smoke. And the future remains uncertain among record-breaking fires scorching Canada.
Which may be months before some of the Canadian forest fires are extinguished.
Our team coverage begins now in tonight's First Alert Weather Day. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. Our First Alert Weather Day continues into this evening. The area still seeing that unhealthy air quality and those fires burning in Canada.
Relentless Beyond is now video of the gray skies we saw in the Green Bay area much of today. Much of our area has been blanketed in gray smoke now for days. Looking at our air quality right now, the EPA shows Green Bay still in the unhealthy level after spiking into the very unhealthy level earlier today.
In team coverage tonight, Holly Brantley is standing by after just stepping outside with how officials are tracking conditions tonight.
But first, meteorologist David Ernst has the latest on what is still to come in our First Alert Weather Day. David.
Bill, Cammie, before I get into the latest, I want to show you where you can find the latest information when we're not on the air. I hope that this interface behind me looks familiar. It's our free WBAY First Alert Weather app. If it doesn't look familiar to you, I'd encourage you to go to your app store and download it. You'll get video updates throughout the day at the top of the screen, radar interactive there so you can watch the storms come in. But if you scroll a little farther down past the hourly and 7-day forecast and the live updates, you can get down into the First Alert weather graphics section there. And when that loads up, if you scroll down the page, you'll find a lot of unique options that you won't find probably anywhere else. Aches and Pains forecast is on there. You'll find a few other graphics that are in our 24/7 update in our weather channel, but something else on there. Local air quality. So you'll be able to get that. It updates twice an hour, so you can check anywhere you are in northeastern Wisconsin and see what the current air quality is. And this is what our current air quality is, where it stands right now. And you'll notice a lot of us hovering in the unhealthy or very unhealthy categories. A lot of numbers here, 175 and above, just indicating how unhealthy that air is. It has our First Alert Weather Day continuing for an air quality alert through noon tomorrow. We will see that air quality gradually improve over the course of the day. Before that happens, though, watching for the potential for some strong thunderstorms overnight. Those storms right now on First Alert Viper Max in northwestern Wisconsin. We'll talk more about what to expect tonight as they arrive and get into the details of when this air quality should begin to improve coming up.
Thank you, David. The map behind is showing the fires burning right now in Canada, more than 490 active tonight.
That's a lot of dots on that map. We're told many of those fires in hard-to-reach areas, making the situation worse. Holly Brantley outside tonight with how the fires are impacting us locally. Holly.
Right, conditions can change really quickly. We can actually still feel it a bit in the air out here tonight, but we did see some blue sky this afternoon at the farmers market. That brief break, a relief to vendors and patrons. Health experts saying the best way to get permanent relief, stay inside, or wear an N95 mask like this. Suffocating, irritating. That's how people at the Green Bay Farmers Market describe this smoky situation.
The air quality was terrible.
Yes.
And coming down here, my eyes watered. I was coughing.
At Beaverbrook Foods, the Goddards saying they've been coming to the market for 20 years and they've never seen smoke and haze like this.
No, never. As long as they're burning, we're going to get smoke.
Over at the booth for OJ's Midtown restaurant, owners agree.
I think it's definitely hindered us a little bit tonight, but it seems like we still got a pretty good crowd.
Still, patrons saying in spite of the smoke, they couldn't stay away.
It's pretty bad, and you can actually smell it now, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite noticeable. Yeah, this haze is, well, it's like living in Southern California.
While the farmers market continued, many outdoor events in Green Bay and the Fox cities canceled altogether. The DNR saying this is a dynamic situation with conditions that could change rapidly as the wildfires burn in Canada, now breaking an annual record for wildfire smoke emissions.
There always is a wildfire season, except for really wet years. In Canada, it just started earlier this year. It usually starts in July, and they're used to having a lot of the fires in the remote areas, and a lot of their areas that they're not extinguishing the fires. It's kind of a let burn policy right now, and I guess that's their normal practice.
So far, the DNR says the areas in Wisconsin with the worst air quality are along the Lake Michigan shoreline down to Milwaukee. DHS recommending people keep activity outdoors light and short.
If you do have a respiratory or cardiovascular health condition that puts you at greater risk, and need to spend time outside, a well-fitting N95 mask may be helpful, but generally we recommend that for the duration of this air quality event, staying indoors is probably the best thing to do.
We could see a break for the smoke in the next couple of days, but
If that weather changes at all, there's a chance we could get more smoke impacts.
and we aren't alone. NPR now saying parts of Europe are seeing hazy skies from the wildfires. Live in Green Bay, Holly Brantley, Action 2 News.
Another family member to look out for when the air quality is poor, your pets. At the Wisconsin Humane Society in Green Bay, poor air quality means significantly less time outdoors for those dogs. While they regularly get time to spend time together out in outdoor pens, the dogs now only get shorter walks and no playtime outside, and dogs with respiratory problems can only get quick bathroom breaks.
You want to decrease the amount of outdoor strenuous activities. So the play yards, this is where the dogs like run after balls, anything that gets you like heavy breathing. So instead of taking runs with your pets, you want to definitely tone that down to shorter walks.
Experts also advise keeping windows closed and monitor your pets for any signs of respiratory distress or discomfort, such as coughing, sneezing, wheezing, or trouble breathing. If you notice any concerning symptoms, reach out to your veterinarian for care right away.
This is the map of the air quality conditions right now across the U.S. The smoke now causing issues stretching as far south as Florida, as far west as Connecticut.